amplifying the voices of those who are most impacted by the climate catastrophes we are witnessing in real time. Stay tuned for more details. At KBLA Talk 1580, Climate is King.
With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood.
Oh yeah, Trey, I feel ya. They be staring at the money like it's unfamiliar. I get it, I live it, to me there's nothing realer. Just enough for all your problems, too much to kill ya. And when I leave, I always come right back here. The young spitter that everybody in rap fear. A lot of y'all are still sounding like last year. The game need change and I'm the motherfucker cashier. Nickels for my thoughts, dimes in my bed. Quarters of the shape the lines in my head. Take my verses too serious, you hate me. Cause I'm the one to paint a vivid picture, no HD. Yeah, I want it all, that's why I strive for it. Diss me, you'll never hear a reply for it.
That was
Any
a
award show or party, I get fly for it. I know that it's coming, I just hope that I'm alive for it. I want the money in the cars in the clothes.
I suppose.
I just wanna be successful.
Listen, this was my theme song. When did this come out? 2007, I think. That was on the Heartbreak Drake mix. When did it come out? 2009? Okay. Whenever that was. Long time ago. Was this on his official album? This was on a mixtape, right? Too Far Gone. Okay. So Far Gone. Okay. All right. Well, it was one of those ones, along with Houston, Atlanta, Vegas, and what's the one with Lloyd? That was my other one too.
All early Drake.
Before
the first official album.
Yeah.
Well, what's the one with Lloyd you talking about?
What is the song? It's Drake and Lloyd, Night Off or something. What is it called? Night Off. That is it. Yeah. That was
a banger. Thank you for reminding me.
Right. Listen, early Drake, man. I was like, burned CD, discovered it from somebody else. I was like, oh, I'm locked in. And I am. I'm a Drake fan. I know. Because, people are like not happy with the music that he's released as of late. They say he's not really, For All the Dogs. Does anybody remember any single from that? Did nothing, right?
No, First Person Shooter?
Okay, yeah. That's it.
I'm with you. I think he's suffering from oversaturation of music.
I could see that.
You know what I mean? I don't want to say he needs to take a page from Cardi B, but this break that he was talking about taking, I think he should take it. Really, really, really take a break and then come back, when people miss you.
I think so. And again, I love Drake. I'm going to listen to everything he puts out and, make a determination. But it seems like the last few albums, even if there's been stuff like, I liked his house EDM dance, however you want to term that album. There were some songs on there I really enjoyed. And I appreciated him trying to do something different musically, but not everybody else did. So, that's what the last two was the Her Loss, was that in between those? the one with 21 Savage. So, I mean, I just feel like, there was some songs on there, but I just feel like he's just kind of, you can't even remember. And that's not how it was with the Drake album. Drake makes anthems. And we're not at that point anymore. I don't know. I just think music in general, we've talked about this, needs some type of shakeup, but I don't know what the shakeup is. And I don't know where the new sound can come from because there's only so many keys on the piano and notes and tunes. So we shall see. All right. Listen. There's been a lot of stories, especially at the end of 2023, in reference to entertainment and some of the positions and situations people were put in hopes of achieving their dreams, right? There have been sexual harassment accusations, groping, all types of things, cover-ups, things of that nature. Suffice it to say, it can be a treacherous business, no? But we've always heard rumors about the Illuminati and this, that, and the third. Weinstein and what happened with him confirmed a lot of things that people talked about as far as the casting couch and yada, yada, yada. We talked about this thing with Epstein that we will get into as far as the list coming out and Jimmy Kimmel's response to Aaron Rodgers. I just want to know from you guys before we get into the stories, because, we're going to take a quick pause, and then when we come back, we're going to get into the full breadth of it. But do you think that there's a price to pay to work in entertainment? Do you think that there's no way that you can truly be successful in entertainment without, we're not going to talk about on a spiritual level, giving up some of your soul. We can talk about that another time. But do you think that physically you have to give up something in order to be successful? We'll get into that on the other side. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Happy holidays from the Los Angeles County Department of Consumer and Business Affairs. DCBA is spreading the warmth this season with the Los Angeles County Rent Relief Program. Visit www.lacountyrentrelief.com. This program is available to landlords with unpaid rent expenses in Los Angeles County, excluding the city of LA. If you are a landlord with unpaid rent, you could be eligible for a grant of up to $30,000 per unit. Tenants with unpaid rent are also welcome to refer their landlords to apply for this program. To learn more about the program or to apply, visit www.lacountyrentrelief.com. This program is administered by the County of Los Angeles through its Department of Consumer and Business Affairs. Visit www.lacountyrentrelief.com. www.lacountyrentrelief.com.
JP Morgan Chase is building on the investments in California and around the country to help close the racial wealth gap and build a more equitable future. As part of JP Morgan Chase commitment, they are taking action to help improve financial wealth and access to banking in the Black community, helping more people open low-cost checking and savings accounts, hosting community seminars with supporting Black-led institutions by building awareness about financial investments, hiring community managers, and opening community center branches like Crenshaw, Inglewood, and downtown LA. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Get the tools to help reach your financial goals. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity.
Cover California is a free service from the state that's already helped millions of people like you get and pay for health insurance. With financial help to lower the cost of health coverage, you could get a quality health plan for less than $10 a month. Every plan covers preventive care, doctor visits, emergency care, and more. If you have questions, we're here to help every step of the way. Cover California, this way to health insurance. Enroll by January 31st at coveredca.com.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Hey, keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So before we get into what Corey Holcomb and Damon Wilson had to say, Damon Wilson is Lamont from Sanford and Son. He also played Oscar on the reboot of The Odd Couple in the 80s with, I think the gentleman's name was Ron Glass, who played Felix Unger. He used to play on Barney Miller. Yeah, so, I thought it was interesting. Obviously, these interviews did not happen together, but I just thought that their conversation, the timing of it, especially considering as we're coming off of the situation with Christian Keys and obviously the accusations that Cassie Wade levied to Diddy, and then the subsequent suits that followed. It's a lot happening, and we hear about it all the time. We've been hearing about the casting couch probably your entire life. You have heard some type of reference to it, even if you didn't know exactly what it was. It's something that you are probably to some degree familiar with. So we're going to get into that, but before we do, I wanted to share with you Jimmy Kimmel's response to Aaron Rodgers, saying that he knows that his name is on the list of people that had some sort of dealings with Jeffrey Epstein. So Jimmy Kimmel tweeted and said, "Dear a-hole, for the record, I've not met, flown with, visited, or had any contact whatsoever with Epstein. Nor will you find my name on any list other than the clearly phony nonsense that soft-brained wackos like yourself can't seem to distinguish from reality. Your reckless words put my family in danger. Keep it up and we will debate the facts further in court, Aaron Rodgers." So Jimmy's like, don't play with my name, don't play with my integrity, and if you do, we can go to court with it. I'm not mad at that because people have tried to, and I told you guys this when I initially mentioned that this list will be released. I don't believe the list is going to be what people think that it is. I don't believe that it is going to be as revealing as they're expecting. And a lot of the information that is contained in this is information that has already been released to the public in some form or fashion. But, we'll have to see. I don't have any insider knowledge. That's just, from what it looks like. But Jimmy Kimmel said, don't play with my name. I will take yours too. So we'll keep abreast of what happens with this and what Aaron does in response. Because, Aaron's been being a little cheeky as of late. Side note, you wrestling fans, WWE fans, I know that you were happy the other night because on Monday Night Raw, there was a familiar face that stepped into the scene. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson returned to WWE for Monday Night Raw. And, his comeback, everyone was excited. He challenged the WWE Universal Champion, Roman Reigns. So, people were getting their nostalgia in this. And it's going to be a blockbuster match. It was unexpected for some. There have been whispers of that he was going to be making his way back and making an appearance, but he actually did it. And, the fans were pleased. Andy?
I watched it live. Shout out to the modern day Maharaja Jinder Mahal. That was the original surprise.
Okay.
Everybody was upset. I was upset that I didn't go to the live event at the Forum this past weekend. I should have went. But they were in San Diego. And the match isn't official yet between him and the tribal chief, the head of the table, which he referred to him as. But it's not official yet, but it's a lot of rumors because that match was supposedly supposed to go down last year, WrestleMania here in LA, considering The Rock being a Hollywood superstar and whatnot. But I can understand that maybe potentially saving that match for this year, which will be in Philly. It'll be the 40th year anniversary for WrestleMania, so I'm pretty sure they're trying to do something big. But it was dope to see The Rock come back.
And also, I mean, a lot of nostalgia. People obviously knowing his dad, Rocky Johnson. It's kind of crazy. I don't know if you ever watched that show Glow that was on Netflix.
I need to watch it, and if I'm not mistaken, it's on regular TV.
Glow was on regular TV now?
I've seen it on the guide on KCal 9, but I got to double check on that. But I also got to watch that Glow. I've been hearing a lot about it.
So it just, I checked it out a little bit over the break, and I remember when the original show used to come on back in the 80s. What stood out to me the most was Mountain Fiji, maybe that was her name. There was a woman and her family, Samoan, I believe, ties to the wrestling. They were some of the early wrestlers or whatever. And it just, in this one part, one of the wrestlers came back. And so her nemesis, who she was going against, they were like, oh, she said, my character always wins. And they were like, well, what about the storyline? If you come back and win, then there's no reason to follow week to week. And that's kind of what I thought of when I heard about The Rock coming back out there. I'm like, oh, okay, they're going to drag, set it up, because otherwise, I mean, of course we're going to care. The Rock is one of the biggest film stars in the world, and obviously he got his start in wrestling, but I don't know, you guys might have moved on to other things as far as your fandom.
We still rocking with The Rock.
And I saw, didn't he drop the people's elbow? I feel like I saw
he sure did.
Okay.
He sure did. He got into a little bit of action. He was out of breath, you could tell.
He was like, I don't do this no more.
He does not do that on a regular basis, but yeah, it was nice to see him. And the Samoans, they got a huge family. Huge wrestling family. And by the way, Glow, that's all females.
Yes. So, but it's really good. Like, and it touches on a little bit of have you seen Iron Claw?
I've been seeing a lot of the wrestlers at the little premiere and whatnot. I'm definitely gonna have to check that out as well.
So you should check that out. I think you would enjoy that. Side note, I don't know if you guys have heard, but this is an Olympic year, and NBC has added Snoop Dogg to the broadcast for the Olympics. Now, if you recall, he and Kevin Hart, I think it was the equestrian stuff or whatever, they did something together. And I also think that even though I feel like Snoop is the catalyst to a lot of this rapper turned host, everyday pitchman or whatever, I do think the success of podcasts like It Is What It Is with Cam and Mace, obviously talking sports, and lifestyle stuff, even though Snoop had already done something with NBC, I do think that their popularity is kind of like, hey, we got one of those too. Let's make sure we get these ratings up for this Olympics this year, because, last Olympic Games, we were in COVID, and so we had them the summer after, and we're back on regular schedule, so it's only been 3 years, but can you believe that it has almost been 4 years since COVID kicked off? Coronavirus. When's the last time you said that? Coronavirus.
Time flies.
4 years. That's crazy to me.
Election year too.
Man.
Is Trump coming back?
No.
Is Biden going to win another one? I
Yes.
don't know.
Who else is there? Well, that's a conversation. We have a long time to discuss all of that, and we do that here. That's the type of stuff we talk about. All right, so listen, let me get into this Corey Holcomb thing, because I know you guys kind of are curious, right? So in a recent interview, Corey, he said, listen, if you are coming to LA to try and get in this industry, You are not going to make it. He did not mince his words. He did not stutter. He didn't sugarcoat at all what he was trying to say. Very direct. So we are going to hear what Corey had to say and get into this topic.
Listen, I used to talk about gay Hollywood. And so many people would say to me, Corey think everybody gay. Listen to what I'm trying to tell y'all, man. I can't do nothing about the lifestyle of men who choose that. But I do want to give you a little information. All you guys who thinking of coming out of here thinking you gonna make it, your must be sacrificed. You're not gonna get it. You're not gonna get it, homie. If you ain't coming out of here to ride cowboy style at these parties.
The Illuminati, they approached me.
So, listen, everybody has their own perspective, right? And I think that it's so easy when it comes to, first and foremost, not discounting whatever his personal experience is and what he's referring to. Don't know. Like, I'm just speaking on the idea in general and this topic. And, we're going someplace because, like I said, we have more. But, one, I do think that for some, it is easier to say, oh, you have to sell your soul or Illuminati or something like that, than to believe that putting in work can get you to some of the places that exist within any entity that involves power and money. That's politics, that's sports, entertainment, high-level corporate jobs. I think that there is the potential for anyone to be taken advantage of or pushed in a corner when you're talking about money and power, right? I don't think that it is necessarily something that you could say is only exclusive to the entertainment industry. Having said that, it is a fact that people think that they would do anything to get into this industry, maybe are seduced by what they feel the glamour is or the lifestyle is, and are willing to take chances that they probably would not take in other circumstances to be in this industry. But I also think that it is a disservice to the people that did work hard, and probably missed a lot of opportunities maybe because they weren't going to step into maybe that side. It's tricky to me casting that light, because I feel like on one hand there are bad, evil, crazy people in all walks of life. Those things that we're watching on Dateline, all of those stories are not just surrounded by entertainment. There's a lot of stuff that happens in, church, school, wherever. Power can corrupt. So I think it's dangerous to kind of put that one-size-fits-all cover over the course of entertainment. And I think that some of that positioning comes from because people think that, they have a different idea of what it really means to be involved in it sometimes, especially if they have no exposure to it. But, money and power corrupt. And perhaps young Corey has seen some things. I don't know. Again, we just talked about Christian Keys. We've heard Terry Crews speak out, a couple years ago. Attractive men aren't immune from being harassed. Andy?
It's interesting. You talked about how you didn't want to bring the spiritual element into this, but I think it plays into it 100%. But I just wanted to say that Taraji worked hard.
Yeah.
Terrence Howard worked hard. I'm just saying.
Well, okay. Here's the thing: they worked hard, and they're talking about being underpaid, right?
It's all part of it. It's all intertwined, in my opinion. It's no reason why Taraji P. Henson, Terrence Howard, decorated actors they are. They probably been in the game 15, 20 plus years. For them to now come out and be like, yo, they didn't pay me my bread? You got the Diddy allegations popping off. You got Epstein and all that. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying.
Russell Simmons,
come on now. Talk about and then you have a state that's trying to get rid of wokeness. Why are you trying to get rid of wokeness? I'm just saying, I'm gonna leave that alone, man.
I mean, I do think that, who was I listening to? I think it was something Claudia Jordan was saying, and she was like, you got to be careful saying I would do anything for whatever, because somebody's listening and somebody's like, bet, I got you. Anything.
And I was just going to say, like musically, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got a lot of one-hit wonders.
Man.
I wonder why. Not all of them probably, fall under that situation, but I can see why somebody would drop a banger and maybe not want to continue.
It's hard. Reason. It's hard. When we come forward, we're going to get into Damon Wilson's commentary and, some other little things surrounding this, and just, what do you think? I think power corrupts, but I've said several times that I've managed to sidestep some of these things, and, we talked about my theory as to why. However, doesn't mean that I've never seen it or been a party to it, just managed to sidestep it. We'll get into all of that on the other side. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Fit in, so trying to keep up with my progress is like a dead end. My girl love me, but get my heart beat slow. And right now the tour bus is looking like a freak show. And life changed for us every single week, so it's good. But I know this ain't the peak though, cause I want the money in the cars, cars in the clothes. I suppose I just wanna be
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. New York Governor Kathy Hochul is announcing a statewide broadcast event to honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in conjunction with the January 15th holiday. The annual commemoration of Dr. King's life and legacy, known as New York State Celebrates Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., will air on PBS stations throughout New York statewide beginning MLK weekend. Viewers are encouraged to check their local TV listings for broadcast times. Students in certain Washington high schools will be among the first to take a brand new Advanced Placement African American Studies course. The class will launch during the 2024-2025 school year, and students will learn about Colin Kaepernick's national anthem protests, the Black feminist movement, and the Tulsa Race Massacre. The Auburn School District and Tacoma Public Schools are among the first in the state to roll out the course. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Need money for the holidays? Avoid the yikes before Christmas. Hurry into Jackson Hewitt for a holiday loan on your tax refund, up to $1,000. Early refund advance offered to eligible clients. Application required. Finance charge applies. Loans by Republic Bank. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, pursuing justice through participatory democracy. Listen to KBLA Talk 1580, Saturday morning, January 13th, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. for an exclusive forum featuring the candidates for LA County District Attorney. Join KBLA's Tavis Smiley as he helps navigate what promises to be a forum full of fire when the candidates trying to unseat current LA DA George Gascon come together on stage on the campus of the Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science. Again, it's the LA County District Attorney Forum, live, exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580, Saturday morning, January 13th, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Helping to raise your civic IQ. We're KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Stay Housed LA has the resources you need to know your rights and the legal support to back them up. The COVID-19 pandemic has cost people their jobs and livelihoods. This has left an estimated 1/3 of households not being able to make rent and facing losing their homes. This is a fear no one in our community should have to face. You have rights, though, and Stay Housed LA is here to help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between the County of Los Angeles, the City of Los Angeles, and local community and legal service providers. Together, they provide tenants with the information and support needed to exercise their rights so they can remain safely in their homes. Find out more about your rights by participating in a virtual tenant workshop. Get the legal assistance you need. Find additional resources in Los Angeles County and the City of Los Angeles. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA County for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. That's stayhousedla.org. Or call their hotline at 213-694-0040. We've got your black with a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey LA, save water and put money in your pocket with rebates from LADWP. Start saving with free shower heads and faucet aerators. Then save with every flush when you upgrade to a water-efficient toilet and get a $250 rebate. You can also save on every load of laundry with a high-efficiency clothes washer and get a $500 rebate. That's right, LADWP customers can get $500 rebates on qualifying clothes washers. See all the ways to save at ladwp.com/save.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
There's only a few days left for open enrollment, starting at $0 a month. LA Care Covered offers the benefits you need to achieve your health goals. $0 preventive services, 24/7 virtual care and nurse advice lines, walk-in minute clinics, free fitness and nutrition classes, and more. Become a member of LA's most affordable health plan. Get a free instant quote at lacarecovered.org. Have open enrollment questions? Connect with us today at 855-222-4239. Find your affordable path to wellness with LA Care Covered today.
As we go a little something like this.
Hey, it is me, D.L. Huger, and I am thrilled to be heard weekdays in my hometown on KBLA Talk 1580. So check out the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show weekdays from 2 to 4 p.m. exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580. We got a whole lot to talk about, let me tell you. That's on the real.
KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm living in that 21st century, doing something mean to it. Do it better than anybody you ever seen. Do it. Screams from the haters, got a nice ring to it. I guess every superhero need his theme music. No one man should have all that power. The clock's ticking, I just count the hours. Stop tripping, I'm tripping off the power. The system broken, the schools closed, the prisons open. We ain't got nothing to lose. Everybody, we rollin'. Everybody, we rollin'. With some light-skinned girls and some Kelly Rollins. In this white man world, we the ones chosen. So good night, cool world. I see you in the morning. I see you in the morning. This is way too much. I need a moment. No one man should have all that power. The clock's ticking. I just count the hours. Stop tripping. I'm tripping off the power. Till then, that the world's ours.
Welcome back into hour 3 of RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Listen, was Kanye projecting? Was he talking about what really happens in this thing? I don't know. You know, I'm making light of it. It's not a light situation. I hope you guys understand that I'm not talking about the actual instance of it, but some of the conversations and assumptions and the way that it is laid out, a little funny, kind of amusing. Now, Damon Wilson, as I said, he is going to tell you in this interview, you know, he was a classically trained actor. Right? If you've heard any of the stories regarding his time on Sanford and Son, it's alleged that he and Red Fox weren't tight exactly. Damon was a different type of guy. He didn't drink, he didn't smoke, he didn't like to party. And I heard that set was pretty active. You know, it was the 70s. And they got it in, right? And so it didn't kind of flow that well for him. And, you know, they didn't blend, but they certainly had on-screen chemistry. Well, in a recent interview with Comedy Hype, Damon talked about why he left entertainment. He has been involved in the church, and I know I'm saying that very broadly because I don't know specifically as far as what aspect. I know there's some ministry to it, but I don't know what denomination. Don't get me to lying. I don't know if he has a church he's a pastor of, but he is more involved in religion. And in this interview, he states, much like Corey, that there is no way to get ahead in Hollywood if you aren't busting some things open. He didn't say it like that, but listen to what he did say.
Disclosure, 1982, I went full-time into the ministry. The Lord called me full-time into the ministry. I preached before thousands in Africa, thousands in China, in every city and hamlet in America. How old are you?
I'm 35.
I got to suit your age. That's why you don't know. I thought maybe you did your homework before you interviewed me. Hollywood, I've never had anything to do with any kind of clique. I'm not a cliquish person.
Right, and I assume that.
Followers. When I grew up, I had the kids followed me. They followed my dress style. They followed the coolness, the way I walked. When I was in the war, I was a leader. I ain't never followed nobody. So these cliques, I could tell you things about people you named that the little Fruit Loops. They bend over billies. You cannot make it to the top in that industry without selling your soul.
So those were his first comments, right? Little context to this interview. I guess the gentleman wasn't all the way familiar with certain aspects of Damon's career, certain things that had happened, and in questions. That's why you heard him asking how old he was and schooling him. He did that a couple of times throughout the interview. But he goes on to say, when asked, that there is nobody that is successful in Hollywood that hasn't had to pay up with some type of physical, what do we call it? I don't know. You know, just he's saying they're out here and that is the only way that you can get ahead. Again, take this with a grain of salt, right? Because there are also, you know, some thoughts. Like he said he left in the industry in 1982. Some question whether he left or he didn't have a choice but to leave, right? And sometimes that can shape your opinion. I'm not saying that that is necessarily what's going on with him. I'm just giving you complete context so that when you hear what he says in this next clip, you'll understand.
Became famous that were down there working for Joe Papp in the Village at that theater. It's renowned. And Walter Mirisch from Mirisch Studio, from the Mirisch brothers, came to New York, and he cast me in my first major motion picture, The Organization, with Sidney Poitier. And that's why when I first came to California, we shot it in San Francisco, and people saw the dailies and they liked my work. And so I said, oh, you know what? I'm going to move out there because I'm getting a lot of offers and I don't want to be doing this bi-coastal thing. So I moved to California and I did Mission Impossible and a couple of TV spots, and then All in the Family. And then I got a phone call from Bud Yorkin, and he asked me if I wanted to do a series with Red Fox. So I've never been a part of any of that nonsense. I don't respect those people. I don't care about that. I told you I had connections. Nobody was going to say nothing to me.
I get it. And it made me think when you just said kind of the comment about some of the people that we've known in the industry and what they may have to do to get to the top. Can you give me
all of them? All of them. You name your biggest black actors, you name your biggest white actors, you name your biggest female Latino actresses, they all have to do.
So that's Mr. Wilson's thought and expression on Hollywood. Real clear on what he thinks. Andy?
I also just want to say that during the break, me and my girl was watching Jim Carrey, Liar Liar. Funny movie. But after watching that movie, I kind of went on just like a whole Jim Carrey just binge on YouTube, just watching old clips and stuff like that. But a lot of the stuff that kept popping up was Jim Carrey's hiatus from Hollywood, and him giving reasons as to why, he kind of strayed away from the industry. And I just think that even him, a white man who's legendary in this game, gives credence to what Corey Holcomb had to say and what Brother Damon Wilson had to say.
I do think that, it's a lot happening. One, it's excess. And once again, when you add in a lot of money and power in the mix, you can get access to anything. And that situation, it sets things up for other things. And also, I think some people get it confused. They think that, it's just a conversation. Well, drop your drawers and I'll give you the thing. It generally, with things like that, it's not that overt. Do you know? It could start off as, hey, there's an event. It's going to be some important people there. You should come. Maybe you should come with me so that, can make sure you get in, right? And you think, oh, dude's trying to help. He's holding it down. I want to go. How would I get into this party any other way, right? But that's not egregious. That's not crazy, right? Oh, it's this other event next week. Why don't you come by my house and, we'll get drinks and talk about this project before we go to the event. And you're like, oh, business, da-da-da-da-da-da. And it's little things like that sound reasonable, but you keep getting in these situations where you really don't know what you're going to get. I mentioned when we were talking about, because the 90s was a lot. Do you know what I'm saying? And I was outside. So I saw a lot of things, but I was talking with some friends, and one of the reasons I think I may have sidestepped certain situations or things like that is because I didn't drink at the time. So there's not that same opportunity to lower your defenses. There's not that same thing where, there's not an opportunity for you to necessarily slip something in my drink because I'm not drinking anything that, would put me in that state. But I think about certain small things we talked about with Trent the artist, who will be in tomorrow because it's Wednesday, knowing when to go home. It's such an important thing. It's such a small thing, but it's such an important thing. There's been so many nights when, me and friends like, looks like it's time for us to leave. Or maybe we didn't realize it was time to go home, and one of the homies pulled us to the side like, hey, it's time to go. Do you know? Urban Spencer says grooming. We were asking back how adults can be groomed. I mean, you're right to a degree. That is because I think oftentimes when people think about grooming, to your point, they focus on adults and children and those improper relationships. I guess for me, I kind of like to separate it because it is a form of grooming, but I just call it being manipulative, because sometimes you think about it, some of these guys, execs, I won't just say guys, some of these people in these positions, they weren't popular, when they were younger, or maybe they don't feel like they had the looks to stand out in those type of ways, or the talent or the charisma, whatever you want to have it. And so they use their position to befriend people that they probably couldn't otherwise. And then it's just, that's what friends do. Hey, I'm going to be da-da-da-da. There's a show, a premiere happening, maybe you could be my date. Just so that we could introduce you to people and things like that. These are things that happen. And again, they're innocent in some degree because you network with people. That's how you get to know people. That's how you develop relationships. Business deals happen generally, a lot of times, especially when you're talking about things like this, from relationships. And how do you form relationships? By spending time with people. But it's just a slippery slope. And, even if you think about what Christian Keys was saying, he, went to an event and was too inebriated to drive home. So he crashed out in said individual's guest house. That's the responsible thing to do. But some people read it as, they know what's up. They spending the night, So it's so tricky and it's so hard to read into. I will say, though, I do think it is unfair to say that everybody has to do something because you don't know that. And I don't want to think that everybody in the world is that evil. Are there people like that? Sure. But I can't say everyone because I haven't. What, Andy? When we come forward, we're going to get into what Andy had to say and a couple of more stories. Listen, welcome in 2024. The heat just doesn't stop. We'll get into more on the other side. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Even easier than choosing to keep the Grinch away from the toy drive.
Who's going to deliver the toys to the kids?
What about me, the Grinch?
No.
Yep, even easier than that.
You steal the presents one time.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, is it even a decision? That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Capital One NA, member FDIC. Copyright Dr. Seuss Enterprises. Copyright Turner Entertainment Company.
JP Morgan Chase is building on the investments in California and around the country to help close the racial wealth gap and build a more equitable future. As part of JP Morgan Chase commitment, they are taking action to help improve improve financial wealth and access to banking in the Black community, helping more people open low-cost checking and savings accounts, hosting community seminars with supporting Black-led institutions by building awareness about financial investments, hiring community managers, and opening community center branches like Crenshaw, Inglewood, and downtown LA. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Get the tools to help reach your financial goals. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles is a nonprofit law firm that protects and advances the rights of the most underserved, leveling the playing field and ensuring that everyone can have access to the justice system. Every year, LAFLA provides free, high-quality legal services to more than 100,000 people living in poverty across greater Los Angeles. Their unique combination of neighborhood offices, self-help centers at courthouses, and domestic violence clinics puts Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles on the front lines in vulnerable communities and at the forefront of change. LAFLA's expert team of attorneys, paralegals, and support staff works to provide direct representation, offer counsel and advice, provide referrals, and educate the community about their legal rights through workshops and seminars. With locations all over LA, you can access their services or volunteer to help no matter where you live. And if you have an urgent issue, call 213-235-0060. That's 213-235-0060. To get legal help, make a donation, or volunteer, visit lafla.org. lafla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Listen, money and power corrupts, and one thing that I will take away from what they said, Hollywood is a tough beast, right? And it's so hard because it's so easy to say you can't be desperate for anything. You got to keep your morals intact, and you have to, stay focused and believe in who you are. But if you're trying to do something, you really want to do something, then you also hear people say you got to sacrifice, you got to do these things and blah, 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 blah to get ahead. You confuse yourself at times, maybe, because you're like, am I not being sensible if I'm not taking that one extra step? Because we all hear it, what you won't do, the next man will. And we hear that across everything. So, I don't know. Easier said than done.
Jill, you ticking me off with the truth that you just spewing. But I already said my piece. Off air.
You did.
I'm not going to put it out there or whatever. But all I'm going to say is this. I think everybody done grew up that knew somebody that did something crazy for like $20.
Right.
$50. $100 maybe. I know. I'm not going to say I know. But I've heard stories about people getting killed just for, you owe me $50. Right? You owe me $50, man. Where the money at? And all of a sudden, argument ensues. Boom, somebody gets shot, somebody's killed. So I could only imagine what people would do for millions of dollars.
And the potential is such. You think about people wanting to be just in the same air or associated with these people because it, not that necessarily you get assurances for anything, but it puts you in the space for opportunity. And without access, you may not get the same opportunities. Urban Spencer says, and being broke allows people to make rash decisions. For sure, if you don't know how you're going to pay rent next month, if you don't know how you're going to make this little $100 stretch to the end of the month, and you got meals and you got light bills and a cell phone bill, you might consider some things. Oh, maybe it'll just be once. Oh, it's not that bad. I don't know. We hear about things all of the time. So obviously, when you're dealing with a situation like the entertainment industry, that, it's a small few, relatively speaking, that are able to get in and have access. And then from there, to stay on, to be employed, to find work, to find consistent work, all of those things, some people might say, well, maybe one time, and I'm not even like going far. I'm saying something like, oh, I don't want to go to this party. I heard that they do the white lines there, but there's going to be, individual A there that I'm trying to get a connection with. So I'm going to go and hang out, right? I'm sure people end up in those type of situations all the time. And some people are stronger than others. Some people know who they are. They know what they will and won't do, what they're comfortable with. I mean, again, I mentioned, not as an excuse, but just a bit of fact. The 90s were a wild time, right? And there were the women, people that were with it. And then there's other people that probably caught up in something that they had no business in just because they were curious. So it's an ongoing conversation. There are more filings as far as California's being concerned as far as sexual assault claims. Paula Abdul has filed one against the creator of So You Think You Can Dance and American Idol for sexual harassment. We'll get into that tomorrow along with some other stories, but it's not going to be a topic that's going away anytime soon. And we are in a different era, but people are still going to want to look back and re-examine it. Listen, thank you for clocking in on the first day back in the studio for 2024. We got all the heat. We're going to have all the trending topics and headlines tomorrow, so make sure you are locked in, 9 p.m. Pacific time for RSVP with Jill Munroe. Until then, have an amazing night. When we come forward, you will hear the best of KBLA.
Tell me, is you down? Cause I'm trying to go up tonight. Hoes and hoochies left and right. I just wanna live in a fantasy. I think we deserve it right. Top of the man.